It is, it is. Norma, I will be on standby just for purposes of everyone, just to let them know that there will be intervals throughout the day where they can ask questions, and we'll be keeping the questions to those specific breaks throughout the masterclass this morning. I will turn off my video, but I will be here to support when we get to those breaks. But obviously, if anyone can keep using the Q&A box as well as the chat box, that will be great. And if I can hand over to you, Norma, fantastic.
Fabulous, Helen, and thanks ever so much for offering to look after the chat for me as well. That's great. Thank you. So good morning, everybody. It is truly wonderful to be with you here this morning from my spare room. COVID-19 needs must and all that. So I think we're all getting used to new ways of working. And LinkedIn can be a tremendous resource to help us with awareness, to help us with our reputation, to get messages out there into the big wide world about what we have to offer as businesses and why people should be interested in us and why we are such lovely people to do business with. So today I'm going to be talking to you about everything you need to know about LinkedIn. For myself, I've been on LinkedIn since 2006. It was started in 2002. From Reid Hoffman's back bedroom, launched in 2003, and now claims over 690 people, 90 million people worldwide from 200 different countries and regions. And it is an incredibly powerful resource. So we're going to be looking at all of that with you today, looking at why the principles of doing business on LinkedIn are exactly the same as doing business face-to-face. It is about ethics, it's about trust, it's about integrity, and it's about building relationships with your customers, building relationships with your network. And we're going to be very much putting people first and trust first as we work through the webinar this morning. Before I start the presentation itself, I would just like to say to you a story working with the lovely team here some years back of a LinkedIn session I did down in Harrogate actually. And there was a lady there, she was doing LinkedIn improvements on her profile and her husband's profile at the same session. He was busy. They ran two separate businesses side by side, but each person was director and responsible for each individual business. She went off to do all this amazing work on LinkedIn, came back to an SEO course I was delivering about 8 weeks later, and she walked in the door and she had an envelope in her hand. And she was waving the envelope saying, "You'll never guess what happened to us. What's in this envelope?" And as it turned out, because of some very simple changes she'd made on LinkedIn, there was a check for £70,000 in the envelope. Now, I'm not promising you necessarily that you'll get a check this week for £70,000 in the post, wonderful though it would be. But what she'd actually done is on each of their profiles mentioned the other company that their partner was running, and one of their suppliers who'd been working with them for 13 years hadn't known about the other business. So perhaps the first message for you today, and we'll come on to the workbook and action points, but it's maybe the first action point for you, is that on LinkedIn we are stating things that are maybe obvious to us. We're being explicit and spelling out what we can do and the benefits of what you can do. So an interesting story there for you to consider and what that might mean for you. I'm going to share my screen with you now, and we're going to start the presentation. So today is the first in a series of 3 webinars. They will run each week. This is webinar 1, getting the foundations right. So how to deliver an excellent profile that will build trust with your audience and actually gain their interest and encourage them to find out more and to explore your profile and then come and see what your website is all about and hopefully make contact with you. And that great first impression is so important. Here's a fact for you up front. people are not going to have a second go at getting a good first impression from you. And we know from Forbes research that 90% of people are going to check you out online before they make contact. And of those 90%, about 88% of those people have already decided whether they're going to do business with you before they make contact. So that first impression is absolutely critical. Now, particularly at the moment with what's going on, all of the pressures and what we're having to deal with, it's often tempting to neglect the business development work, and we cannot afford to do that. In these times, now is the time to work on your LinkedIn profile and your digital resources and get those up to speed and keep your business development going. And a lot of my clients tell me that actually one of the key things that they're really concerned about is time. So my promise for you today is that all you need is 12 minutes a day. LinkedIn used to talk about 9 minutes a day. I give you 3 minutes per day extra because 5 times 12 makes up an hour. 12 minutes a day, some basic fundamentals, and I will share the recipe with you at the end to make sure once you've got all the prep work done that you are staying on top of things. So the 3 webinar series, just to let you know what we're doing. Making a great first impression, that's what today's webinar is all about. Getting to know your audience, what's your niche. That first impressions are really critical. You need to be keeping an eye on that. Knowing your audience and making sure that you are presenting a really, really good position to your audience. Secondly, profiling and targeting your A-list clients. That is what our second webinar will all be about, connecting to your A-listers. And once you're connected, what do I do? How do I communicate with them? How do I get these people on board? How do I start doing business with these people? So, you know, taking it to the next level. And then the third webinar is all about generating leads that convert, building reach and reputation, and getting results. So we're going to be looking at content, we're going to be looking at advanced search techniques, we're going to be looking at how you can really start engaging fully with that audience and planning your 12 minutes a day. I will keep things as simple as I possibly can for you so that you are getting the very best out of what is being presented to you today, not using too much jargon or too much technical dialogue. So LinkedIn, their vision is to really create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce, and the way they're going to do that through their mission is by connecting the world's professionals to make them more productive and more successful. What I would like to say, and it's a question I get asked a lot, is about premium. And actually you can do everything that you need to do on basic. You do not need to have the premium service to get the most from LinkedIn. Premium prices started around £36 per month, and it just gives you more of what you already have available, apart from the in-mail function, which we will talk about in the second webinar. That's LinkedIn's own in-mail or email system that helps you contact people that you don't know. So what I would like to start asking you is, you know, what are your, I beg your pardon, and obviously looking at success on LinkedIn powered by relationships, and we're going to be focusing on the marketing element today. So I'd like to ask you, what is your biggest LinkedIn challenge? And maybe you can start putting some chat messages through to Helen about what troubles you the most about LinkedIn. I'm going to share some of the key ones with you now. I don't know how to find new clients using LinkedIn is something I hear a great deal of. People don't know about my great offer.
Hi, Norma, sorry to interrupt. We've got a bit of feedback coming from the audio. Sorry, this is just, hi everyone, I'm Paul from Digital Drive. We're just doing a bit of a technical fix here. I think there's a bit of feedback. If you can mute your audio, not your microphone, we still need your microphone so we can hear you, but if you can mute your audio so that your laptop's not picking up your own sound.
Just a second. Can you still hear me there, Paul?
I can still hear you. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you, unfortunately, when I'm
Right,
moving forward.
it hasn't got rid of the noise. I'll keep looking into it and see if we can find a solution. But if you want to continue for now, Norma, and
Sorry.
yeah, I'll see if I can find anything else. But there's definitely some feedback from that sound.
How are the delegates finding it? Is it troublesome?
Yeah, it's quite a prominent buzzing noise, so I think it is going to cause a little bit of some issues. Let me have a look. Do you want to just keep going, Norma? Sorry to interrupt, and I'll go in and see if we can find anything different.
I've got a small pair of headphones, Paul. If we pause just for a second.
Yeah, of course.
And I'll grab the small headphones. They were quite quiet, but let's see if that works better. I'll be 2 seconds.
Great. Thank you, Norma.
Yes, apologies everyone, please bear with us. That's the trouble with doing some of the live sessions, isn't it? But thank you for everyone feeding back in the chat, that's really helpful. Fab.
Okay, I am here. Let's see if this works and whether this is actually loud enough. So can you hear me now? Can you hear?
I can,
yes.
when you hold it up to your mouth, Norma.
Okay, so let's use this as a provisional. Is that better for all of the delegates?
Yes, everyone's saying that's much better, Norma.
The sound is completely gone, Norma.
Okay, we tested this out over the weekend and it was absolutely fine. So my apologies to everybody. I hope that's much better for you. And let's get right back into the presentation.
Perfect.
And crack on.
Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Okay, guys, so sorry about that. You'll have to make do with me holding the microphone up, but I'm glad that you've got better sound. So yes, LinkedIn challenges. People don't know about my great offer. I connect to prospects, but they don't reply. Creating posts and content is really stressful. I'm short on time and I need a system to follow is something that people also tell us. And feast or famine, how many of us experience this? I'm really busy or I'm really quiet, too much or too little work. And this is what I was talking about earlier about that consistency, keeping your business development work going so that there's not an issue there. And of course, accountability. Many of us will be working from home, we'll be under pressure, managing 1,000,001 different things. And if you do your business development work or you don't do your business development work, where is the accountability? How am I keeping tabs on myself? I even actually write a little sort of mini contract with myself. I'm going to achieve all of these things this week and keep it on the desk so that I can be accountable to myself. And that's sometimes a good tip when you want to get things done, because you really do have to make sure that you fit those things in there. So you will have received by email your LinkedIn workbook, which you may have with you. Don't worry if you haven't managed to print it out.
we will be, I'll be telling you when there are action points and things that you can jot down, and we'll be giving you a bit of time at the end just to think about which actions are relevant for you and which ones you want to take forward. So if you have got your workbook on page 4, what I'd like to take you through to now is your social selling index score. Now, a lot of people don't know that this actually exists. What it is, it's something that LinkedIn developed specifically for the Sales Navigator, which is the premium service on LinkedIn, and it gives you a score across 4 indices of how your profile is performing on LinkedIn, your personal profile. And this is the URL for you to access that. So this is what it looks like. You type in that particular URL into your browser bar, and it will come up with a picture, and it will give you a score out of 100 across 4 different areas. And the logarithms behind this that LinkedIn uses to calculate your score is fairly sophisticated. I don't want you to obsess about this, but it's a good benchmark in the sand. And the good news is it is updated daily. And I've seen some of my clients go from 40% to 75% in just a matter of a week or 2. So take heart. And of course, the higher the score, the better your LinkedIn profile is performing, the more visibility your profile has on LinkedIn. It will be more visible, and LinkedIn will be much happier about sharing that across searches. So let's just have a look at what you need to be doing to get your LinkedIn profile performing better. And we will be covering all of this in the 3 webinar series. So first of all, establish your professional brand. That means completing your profile with the customer in mind, and become a thought leader. Be thoughtful by publishing meaningful posts. Find the right people. Identify better prospects using search and research tools. So are you connecting with decision makers? Are you communicating with them effectively? And are you proactively using the advanced search and research tools to do that? Then the 3rd metric is engaging with insights. So that's all about sharing conversation-worthy updates to create good relationships and getting good interaction with the content. And finally, building relationships, so connecting but establishing trust with decision makers, not just a connect and hello, how are you, and you're gone, but actually deepening the relationship and deepening the engagement with them. So that is something for you to delve into after the webinar. And again, the LinkedIn Social Selling Index, you can read more about it here on LinkedIn. And just a note, if anybody would like some of the key presentation slides after the event, we can organize to send them out, or you contact me directly on LinkedIn and I'd be happy to share some of the key slides with you. So, excuse me, I've just managed to click onto the link there. So this is what your LinkedIn profile page looks like. And down at the bottom, you have your dashboard here. And this dashboard is also a very useful benchmark. And in your workbook, I would like you to be jotting down some of these numbers so that you are keeping a tally on how your LinkedIn is performing as you make the improvements that I'm suggesting through this webinar series. You can keep an eye, and you can keep the figures around how well your LinkedIn is performing. And you'll have your dashboard here. On the right-hand side, you've got all-star status. If your LinkedIn profile isn't complete, it may have anything from beginner to immediate All-Star. In this session, we are going to work to getting you to All-Star status, and you will then see how many people have viewed your profile, how many post views you've got, and how many search appearances. And then there's a raft of other information there for you to keep an eye on, and to make sure that you are doing the best that you can on your LinkedIn profile. Now, the next thing I would like to share with you is actually on your mobile phone. And this is your own personal LinkedIn QR code, which makes it really, really easy for you to connect. Now, I'm going to show you on your LinkedIn mobile phone how to get there. So you will see here on the left-hand screen grab, in the search box, there are three small squares and a sort of square of dots. And if you click on here, it then brings up the second screen. And on that second screen, you have got your code, and then you've got a button that says scan. And when you press on your code, it brings up your own personal LinkedIn QR code that you can put on your email footers. You can include it on marketing. You can put it on presentations. When I'm doing workshops, I even take a laminated copy with me. It makes it really easy for people to connect with you. And when you click on scan, you have the QR scanner that allows you to just click onto the QR code and connect. So if I go back, if some of you do want to try it out, if you hold the scan up against my LinkedIn profile QR code, you will be able to immediately connect with me. I'll just give you a second or two if that's something you would like to do. So that is a really great tip. You can use it virtually as I am. You don't need, in these COVID times, you don't necessarily need to be face-to-face with people to take advantage of this. So very briefly, I'd like to share my 5 key principles of working online, and particularly working online to build some of the key things that you will need from LinkedIn. The first principle is people buy from people that they trust. And this for me is absolutely fundamental. LinkedIn is your personal network on LinkedIn. People are not coming to a networking session to buy from you. They are coming to a networking session on LinkedIn with you to hear about your experience, your expertise, and to share and care with people in your network. So building that trust is really important, and people will make quick decisions about whether they trust your profile or not. Have you got a picture? Does it look great? Is the content good? Are you focusing on me rather than focusing on yourself? And in terms of creating quality content, there are 2 things to build trust that you need to be mindful of. The first is the extent to which I believe you to be competent and capable. How good are you at what you do? Because if you demonstrate that you are competent and capable, I'm moving up here into the respect box. On the bottom here, the extent to which I believe you care about me. And if we get that right, you're moving from affection, from distrust to affection, and respect and affection build trust. And I think showing your customers that you really care about them is something that we do really, really, really well on LinkedIn, really well. We can get those messages across, but they have to be authentic, they have to be heartfelt, and actually they need to be personal. LinkedIn profile is your virtual business development self out there on the web 24/7, building trust with your audience. People are going to check you out on the internet, whether you've got a great profile or not. And how many times have you Googled someone or looked them up on LinkedIn and it has let you down? So whether you like it or not, actually having a great profile on what is one of the best optimized resources on the web, LinkedIn will give you significant SEO benefit. Actually making sure you've got a decent profile is critical. People only read the headlines. You will spend a long time creating your content, and people do only read the headlines. So you need to master the craft of stating the obvious and being explicit. And way over 55% of LinkedIn views are now from some form of mobile device. So we need to bear that in mind as well. A big principle is putting yourself in your customer's shoes. Tell your customers what you can do for them. Don't just tell them what you do. So we're focusing on the benefits. And I like this little slide because when you're in the business, you're like the cameraman looking out through the lens and you have a beautiful view of the world. The customer, like the little bird, is on the other side of the lens looking in and has a completely different perception of you and your business based on the words and the communication that you make to the outside world. So it's really important that you get that right and you are presenting yourselves with relevant, up-to-date, current information that highlights the benefits of what you do or what you are offering or what you are selling, whether it's B2B or B2C, to your customers, and getting that right. Really important. And the average attention span on the web is about 2 seconds. So getting that across in short sound bites is really important. And finally, on LinkedIn, being brave, guys, being really brave and shouting about the brand of you and the brand of your organization and what you can offer and what you're really great at, and getting that message out there. And it's not something that comes naturally to us as British people. We're a bit shy, but it is about getting on your soapbox, taking the brave pills if you need to, and getting on the soapbox and really putting your messages out there and sharing them. So 5 principles for you there that will stand us in good stead as we are going ahead and developing your LinkedIn profile. So there are a couple of things on LinkedIn. I've shown you my profile page. This is your home page. So your home page, if you see at the top, you can access from the home button here. Your profile page is the little circle up at the top here, or you can get to your profile by clicking anywhere here. And it's worth mentioning that when you are being searched for and people find your profile on LinkedIn, this square here, if you can see in the top left-hand corner of the screen where my arrow's moving, that square is what people will typically see. So you can see that the picture, your personal picture, goes to the middle. You've got the background image, and underneath your name, you've got the headline here with 120 characters to essentially present your elevator pitch of how good you are at what you do. Now, I'd like to show you a couple of things that are pretty important for you to get right. And first of all, when you, and I'm just going to go back, when you go to the top right circle on the top black navigation bar here that says me with an arrow pointing down, and you click on that, it brings you to this screen. And you will see it says settings and privacy and help at the very top. And you've then got a raft of other things that you can explore in your leisure. But these are 2 areas that need to go down on your action plan that I would like you to look at after this webinar series. Maybe if you're doing the 2nd and the 3rd webinar, this will be sort of homework stuff for you to do in between. So settings and privacy. And the help screen. So first of all, this is the settings and privacy, and you'll see 4 key areas. The really important ones are privacy and communication. And I would like you to go through each of these individually and make sure that you are happy with the standard settings that LinkedIn has used to set up your LinkedIn profile. How do you want your profile to be seen? Do you want Joe Public to be able to see your picture? Who do you want to be able to see your email address, your telephone numbers, your connections? Do you want just your first degree connections to see your connections, or everyone? And these are things that are important to consider. And on each of these levels, LinkedIn gives you a little bit of a description and allows you to go in and check that you are indeed the boss of your account and you are happy with everything that is set out there. Then you have the help section, which is just underneath that. And in the help section, if there's anything today that you are unsure of, that you don't know how to do, you can't remember, you can just go to the help section, type in your question. How do I remove a connection, for example? Click on the link here, and LinkedIn gives you a step-by-step explanation of how to do that and how to do that effectively. So that is a good start. I'm going to come off share for the moment and just flick back to Helen and see if there are any questions that you have and what you might like to ask at this point in time, and give you a little break from listening to my voice. Come on, lovely Helen. What have we got today?
Thanks, Norma. Right, we've got a question.
Yes.
We've got someone saying they have a wide range of clients, so they don't know who they need to be to each of those clients, as they all have different needs. They're asking, how can I create a profile that is equally effective to all my potential clients?
Okay, and this is a great question, and I get asked this such a lot, Helen. And actually, you as an individual, do you remember the name of the person that asked the question? Michael, you as a business owner, and I hear it a lot, you'll be doing lots of different things. And what contravenes LinkedIn's terms and conditions, which people sometimes do, is setting up multiple profiles. You are one person, one individual, and you've got lots of strings to your bow. So what you need to think about is, in that headline, that 120 characters, and we'll come on to that in more detail shortly, how are you going to position those different things on that headline, or what are you going to prioritize? And then in your profile, you've got an about section, which is your introduction, your exec summary to you as a professional. And in there, you need to think about, again, how you're going to write about each of those different areas and what you are going to prioritize. And I keep that very fluid. So if I'm doing a tender up to a big organization in Scotland, I will go into my profile and I'll put that bit at the top, and I'll talk about Scotland, and I will make sure I've got some recommendations on my profile, again, that I bring up to the top of the recommendations so they're visible. And the following week, if I'm pitching into Germany, I'll do the same thing and I'll jiggle it around. So it's about, who do you need me to be today, and giving that priority on your LinkedIn profile and not viewing it as being something static, but keeping it fluid and just finding that combination, because all these different strings to your bow make you a much more interesting business person to do business with. So good luck, and I'm sure you'll get it right.
Brilliant. Next question, Norma, is just going back to the QR scan, and I guess a very good question actually from Mania. Isn't it best to connect and send a message as to why you're connecting with someone rather than just the QR scan, or can you not do this when you're doing a QR scan?
You can't. Well, it will come up and it'll bring you my profile, and you can actually enter a message in from there. Yes. If I'm using the QR code at exhibitions and such like, or I'm in a workshop, I just say, hey guys, I'm going to connect with you automatically, and just go bing, bing, bing and send them out, because, but a really great point, you always want to be personalizing the messages. So it doesn't just connect, it does actually bring up a prompt for you, so you don't need to worry about that.
Fantastic. And what is the difference between the degree connections? So first degree, second degree connections on your profile?
Great question. Yeah, great question. So Helen, you and I have messaged, or we've sent invitations to connect on LinkedIn. And therefore, when we both accept, we become first degree connections. Let's say, you know, Michael, who's just asked that question, but I don't. You're a first degree connection with Michael, but I can reach out to Michael through you. So your first degree, your connection with Michael makes it second degree. And then when Michael has someone that neither of us know, that would be my third degree connection, because it goes to you, it goes to Michael, it goes to the third person, and it would be your second degree connection. So actually, when you're connecting with somebody on LinkedIn, first degree, you may have, I don't know, 500 connections, but I also introduce into my network all of your second degree connections with all of their connections, and all of the third degree connections with all of their connections. So I've got something like 5,600 connections on LinkedIn, which gives me access to about 25 to 30 million individuals on LinkedIn. You are never searching all 690 people, which would be crazy. You're searching within your own network. So it's important to keep that network top quality.
Gosh, it's really interesting and so powerful as well, Norma, isn't it? In terms
It's
of the
really powerful.
and,
yeah. And again, we are judged by the people we're connected with. How many people have you been to a meeting with where it's, oh, do you know such and such, and what about this, and are you connected to them, and do you know about this? It's the same on LinkedIn. So in the next webinar series, I'm going to talk about connecting and how to connect and who to connect with and who is your prime target. We'll do a little bit today. And it's really important that you get that absolutely right. And I've just seen a chat message here saying, do I think LinkedIn's overtaking old-fashioned cold calling? Yeah, absolutely, because it is incredibly personal and it opens doors, really does.
And just this, you've sort of touched on it a little bit there, Norma, but what about cleaning out connections that never communicate? Or is it a case of just keeping as many as possible in order to reach the widest audience possible? What's the best?
I would never sacrifice quality for numbers. And when you get an invitation to connect, always pay that person the courtesy of looking at their profile. Now, if it is Barack Obama and he's got a rubbish profile, I will probably still connect with him. If it is somebody who's got a fantastic profile, but do you know what? It just doesn't sit with me. It's really brash and shouty and very aggressive from a sales perspective, etc. I may decide not to connect with them. So you've got to evaluate the profile. Is it the right connection for me? And again, we'll be looking at that in the next webinar series. What does an A-list target prospect and client look like? And we'll be profiling them in more depth. In terms of cleaning out connections, if you've got hundreds or thousands, just do it bit by bit. You don't need to obsess about that, but you do need to prioritize them. And I'm going to talk about that in this very next session. And there is an easy, quick way to remove the connection, which I can show you how to do.
Great. And this is just going back to, I guess, Michael's question as well, Norma, is Karen saying, do you think we can effectively sell ourselves to all of our client types in our profile?
Yes, I do. I really do. Because I know you can do it face to face. Yeah. You go and talk to different people and you flex and adapt. It's a little trickier online because at that first point of contact, you don't have the two-way communication. So you've got to have a little bit of each of those, just top level, so that people actually can see and get what makes you such a rich and interesting individual. But totally, your LinkedIn profile is your virtual business development self. And most clients I work with, when they sit in front of customers, they convert because they're good at what they do. You all are. So yes, totally.
That's a very good point, because it's taken our face-to-face and literally doing exactly what we would do, isn't it? Having that same mentality and putting
Absolutely.
it that summary. Just another one, Norma, in terms of is LinkedIn still in high regard for business, or are there other social networking platforms that you found useful? And the lead on to that is that basically they're saying that LinkedIn has never, when they look at it, it's not really focusing on business issues, and it's more about people writing about their own personal experiences. So I don't know your take on that, using it for sort of personal.
Well, I will answer that very briefly. I don't know how many of you have heard of Gary Vaynerchuk, but he is one of the social media gurus out there, very successful entrepreneur, and he's written many books on social media, etc. Jab, jab, right hook, and there's lots of them, and they're great, and he's fabulous, and he's great on LinkedIn. He wrote a book about 3 years ago, and there was not even a mention of LinkedIn in it. He just disregarded the platform. Microsoft bought LinkedIn in December 2016. There's been some hiccups and ups and downs, but they are really investing in the platform now. Gary Vaynerchuk has been heard on stage and on the platform itself saying LinkedIn is one of the most powerful social media platforms today for doing business development and just networking and getting your stuff out there. So for me, it's the main one, and it will vary because it's not necessarily a question of what platform should I be on, it's where are my customers, because wherever they are, I need to be there talking to them.
And I think you've sort of again touched on that a little bit. Just someone asking, Paul is asking, how much of your personality home life would you use in your posts, or do you keep it purely business all the time?
I mix it up actually, because people do business with people that they trust, and what we want is actually people who are authentic and genuine, and who display a little bit. But actually what I'm more interested is talking less about me and really engaging with the customers online or prospects online or just people I'm networking with online, and talking about things that are going to be really useful and valuable to them. If it was useful for me to share the story about how I've adapted my home office here and all of the things that have gone wrong and what we've had to do to get better sound quality, you'd laugh if you could see the other side of the screen here. But it makes me a genuine, authentic person, and it will make people feel better about what they're having to face at home and how they're dealing with all of these different issues. So I think it's something you need to judge. And would you say this, would you share this if you were in front of somebody face to face? And just check in with your own self and your own authenticity and your own checks and balances as to whether that's appropriate or right. If you're working for a company that have a LinkedIn policy and some guidelines there, then you can always go back and reference that. And I think it's probably time for us to crack on with the next stage, Helen. These questions are amazing, though, aren't they?
There's quite a lot of questions, and again, we can sort of leave them. It depends what time you've got, Norma. But
But keep the questions coming, because I do want to get through the presentation. I will make a point with Helen of going through, and maybe we can share some answers to the questions afterwards, Helen, because this is all good stuff.
Brilliant. Thanks,
Brilliant.
Norma. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, back to the presentation. Oh, and it's taken me right back to the beginning of the presentation, so forgive me while I just find the right place for you. Fantastic. So here we go. And making a great first impression, and what you need to know now. And I love the questions that you've asked. Thank you ever so much. The first thing to do on LinkedIn, in fact, whether you're building a website or whether you're doing marketing or whatever it is, the first real thing to get to grips with when you're working online is knowing your audience, putting yourself in your customer's shoes and being really, really clear about who are the people that you want to engage with. When I'm at physical workshops, I say, imagine there's a room next door with 100 people in. Who would you love to be in that room? And I get you, and we'll talk about this more in the second webinar, I get you to do customer database analysis, or to review your B2C customers if you have that data, and to really get clear about the organizations that you would like to attract and the decision makers within that audience and within that company, and what makes them tick, and what are their preferences and behaviors online, and where do they hang out, and how can I reach them, and what words and messages, and what stories, and what tone and approach would they best like to see from me, because I want to communicate with you in the best possible way to get a great result, to make sure that this new connection, this relationship that we have, is going to work well for both of us. So yes, you're asking great questions. It's important to analyze your current network, because you will be judged by the people that you are connected with. Again, don't obsess about it. In terms of numbers, here's an interesting story. I was a very genuine networker when I started off on LinkedIn. I would always connect with people, message them, have a chat, ring them up, meet them, and I wouldn't connect with people if I wasn't able to do that. And I do a huge amount of work in international, and very quickly I realized actually the bigger the network I have, as long as it's quality, the better the search results I got from LinkedIn. And the clue came when I went to do some business development work with clients, and I had 5 of the senior managers and directors in the room, and they said to me, we have the biggest problem, we just can't find our ideal customers when doing Google searches, or we've bought databases and we've tried to contact them that way and it just doesn't work. So I quickly asked them a few questions, profiled their customers, used the advanced search technique, which I'm going to show you shortly, typed in a few keywords, and within 30 seconds, I had a long list of about 3,600 prospects, and they were just on their feet going, wow, and yes, and this one and that one. The marketing director was off, rushing off to take a closer look at this. So actually, the bigger the network you have, as long as you are not sacrificing quality, the better and the harder your advanced search results will be, because you are only searching across your first, second, and third degree connections. So the focus for me, and I will be encouraging you to do the same, is on prioritizing your contacts and the people that you will, after this webinar series, hopefully start to prioritize in terms of engagement. And I talk about them as being your A-listers. They are people that are well connected to your target market and will help you to achieve your short to medium term goals. And in true adding value to your customers' fashion, you will be able to add significant value to them, whether they're buying services or products from you. The B-listers, yeah, they're important. Good connection, good conversation. That may be for later, in the medium to long term, not for now, but you're going to make a connection and keep in touch at an appropriate time. Your C-listers, you've made initial contact or connection, they're not going to be able to help you achieve what you want to do. Maybe they have a good network and actually you connect with them because that will give you access to their customers, although you're not going to be working with them. And maybe actually they're just not the right connection, so you move on. You may or may not connect. There are people I just simply choose not to connect with because there's no real value there. So that decision will come to you with time and with practice. The one thing I do fairly religiously is, if I have connected with somebody and they send me within 30 minutes a fairly aggressive hard sell connection, I usually remove the connection if that happens. Because do you know what, guys? We're here to network, we're here to care and share, we're here to find out more about each other, and I prefer to give rather than going straight in and asking for the sale. Gary Vaynerchuk actually talks about, for every 100 pushes, you've got 1 pull. So every 100 bits of content you put out on LinkedIn, one of them could be about selling. And you might be able to take that up to say maybe 10% about sales, 90% about social, about your experience, your expertise, and the good stuff, the fun stuff, the interesting stuff, the leading edge stuff that you want to share with your audience, but you've got to maintain that balance. So we are focusing on your A-listers. And in your workbook on page 5, and I'm not going to delve into this in any great depth, but I would like to just highlight this to you as a bit of a teaser for session 2 and what we're going to be doing. So page 5 in your workbooks. And what I'd like to set out for you here is different types of people that you should be looking out for on LinkedIn that can support the brand of you and help you to do what you need to do on LinkedIn more readily. First of all, we've got people who can help you in terms of business development and winning new customers. And obviously you want to be searching for customers online, and you want to be looking out for introducers who can give you access to their customers. So by making one connection with an introducer, I get access to hundreds or thousands of customers. So that's the business development side. On the professional development side, on the other side of the matrix, you have 2 types of connections on LinkedIn to watch out for. First of all, people whose day job it is to create quality content. And if you connect with them or follow them, then you will have access to the great content that they create that will help you with your own content creation. So they're great people to connect with and follow. You will get that information in your home feed. So good ones to watch out for. Always accredit the source if you use their content in lines with best practice. And then, of course, we've got the influencers, the people who are leading edge, top of their game, the people who will help you with your own professional development, give you new, innovative, creative information, inspire you, and you want to be following them, and if you can, connecting with them as well. I'm not going to say too much more about that. We'll be dealing much more in depth with profiling your target customers in the second webinar, and how to then target them and connect with them and communicate with them in the right way. But what I would like to do, because this is something you need to understand in terms of how you are searching for connections who can help you with what you need to do, but also how other people will be searching for you, and the keywords that it will be important for you to include in your profile, because this is absolutely critical. So I want to show you how, just a demonstration of how LinkedIn's advanced search box works. And at the top here, I've just typed in the search box architect, and it brings up here 3.6 million results. And I can't really do anything with that. It's overwhelming and far too much for me to deal with. So in the top box here, I've got all filters, and it gives me a whole selection of criteria that will help me whittle down that search. And when I click on there, you will get a screen similar to this. And what I have decided for the purposes of this particular search is that I'm only going to go for second degree. I know first degree connections, I'm already connected with them. Second degree, I could ask, for example, Helen for an introduction to Michael. That helps me get my foot through the door, and it's a warm introduction, for example. So second degree are easier to reach, and you can also see who else is connected with them and ask them for a little bit of information or help. Third degree is just that bit further removed. So I'm going to focus on second degree. I can type in here under locations in the right-hand corner. I've typed in Durham, United Kingdom, but it could be United Kingdom, it could be Kazakhstan, it could be Australia. I've got Newcastle upon Tyne down at the bottom, it could be Leeds, anything that suits you. I've clicked that box, and down here at the bottom, for this particular search around architect, I've actually clicked architecture and planning, because I do not want systems architects in information and technology. So it helps you filter down to industries. giving you better quality search results. And when I click on there, you can see for that search using the filters, I've actually got 21 quality results. And that is an absolutely brilliant way of proactively targeting prospects on LinkedIn. And in the second and third webinars, we'll be looking at, so how do we then communicate with these people? How do we get them to connect with us? And what constitutes a communication that will get a positive result? So we'll be delving into that a lot more. Once you have created that search, however, that search has looked at your entire network, you can then create a search alert. And you'll see the box on the right-hand side here. And when I click on there, it brings up this box, and I am creating a weekly alert for second degree architects in a particular area. I want to get notified by email. I'm going to click on save. And LinkedIn allows me to create 3 saved searches with a basic account. So you could set this up for different locations or different criteria. And every week, if somebody new enters your network, LinkedIn will send you an email with those prospects listed. So in essence, LinkedIn is starting to help you do your business development work for you without you having to do too much. So on your action plan, I would like you to just jot down, have a look into saved searches and set those up. And just a final prompt here is to let you know, and I know some of us find it really annoying, congratulate such and such on their new job, or they've got a new role, or they've been promoted or whatever. But from research, again, we know that people who've been newly hired or promoted, they are 10 times more likely to make a purchasing decision. So if you send them congratulations, and they should be heartfelt, of course, and start a conversation, it might actually open up the possibility for you to pitch in for a bit of work, because they want to get things done, they want to make some changes, they want to make their imprint on the business. So it's important that we actually look at that and make sure that you're taking advantage. So the other aspect, and then we'll have a quick break for questions again, this is fairly short, is looking at what is your niche. And this is really pretty important, because 67% of clients expect their advisor to have expert knowledge of industry, sector and trends. They want to talk with someone who understands them. And 40% say that's an important aspect in their buying criteria. So it's really important that we have that knowledge, and we are really honing in and focusing on our specialisms and our areas of expertise and experience. Now, this generalist to expert continuum, thanks to the Go to Expert program with Heather Townsend that I've been involved in, helps you go from being a generalist to becoming a specialist or even an expert. How does this work? Well, when I started off way back in 2006, I have to say I was pretty much a generalist, a consultant. I could go out and work with any business anywhere. I then got a growing interest in international trade, and that was slightly easier, but I was having to do lots of legwork to get my marketing done. I then went into a generalist with specialisms, and I started honing in more on manufacturers and professional services and digital and creative businesses, tourism and leisure, food businesses, etc. So I had some specialisms where I could offer clients more of my expertise. And then I became a specialist, where I really, let's just say for the sake of arguing, really honed in on business development and developing business in the UK, but particularly overseas. And then I became a true expert in LinkedIn, but I also became an expert in the international trade dimension, because I've lived and worked in Germany for 15 years. I speak the language fluently. So if I have a manufacturing business that wants to target Germany and he's interested in lead generation, etc., I am the go-to expert. So I would be encouraging all of you to think about how you might progress on this continuum, because the more niche you present yourselves, the easier it is to target the right people that you want as your A-list clients. Who would be interested in me? Who do I really want to connect with, where I can offer the best value? So, and I'm sure you've got lots of questions. We're going to come to those very shortly, I promise. So one of the tasks that I will be asking you to do for your homework is to brainstorm your keywords. So if people were searching for me, and they will be searching on LinkedIn, and it could be on Google, because the keywords on your LinkedIn profile will work equally hard for you in Google, then what keywords do I need to include in my profile? And often people forget this. They may write a great profile, but there's not many keywords in there. And it needs to be a quality read, it needs to be natural, but you really do need to research and think about what keywords can I include in the profile so that LinkedIn and Google can match up a client or a prospect search with my actual profile. So Google searches, it's critical. What skills do you have? Experience and expertise as the go-to expert. What is the product and service offer, your unique selling points around that, and how do you go about doing that? What is it that you do for the client? What are the benefits to them? What is the values that they get from that? So if you imagine on your LinkedIn profile, these keywords are going to be all across the entire content. And what evidence do you have that you've done a great job? And I've got a formula. We'll do that after the next set of questions, where we'll delve into this in more depth. And what are your interests and passions? Is it football? Is it meditation? Is it skiing? Is it music? Is it dancing? You know, just a little bit of personal information in there as well. And what are the important keywords there for you? So lots to think about. You need to complete as much of this on your profile as possible with these keywords and phrases. Now, what really helps with this is if you can have a buddy or someone that can actually share this with you, because your profile will sound so much more natural, and it will be easier for you to capture the keywords if, instead of sitting there and trying to think about it and write them down, you actually team up with a buddy. And we can't necessarily do it face to face at the minute unless you are sharing work or your house with someone that you could do this with, and you do that safely, or you do it over the internet and you arrange an interview with a buddy and you get them to ask you a set of questions, and you talk. And you could record the session, you talking about your job, what you love about it, what you do, who your customers are, etc. And it's your buddy's job to jot down the main keywords, the main things that you are saying that resonate with them. And doing that two-way process, and they can ask you questions and you can delve into it, is so much easier. Such an easy way to write your profile rather than sitting down, because when we sit down to write a profile, we go into gobbledygook, we go into brochure speak, and it sounds often stilted, unnatural, and far from personal. So, action point for your action plan, sort of team up with your buddy and see if you can get that moving. And in your workbook on page 6, you'll find all of this information. And there are 4 places on your profile that are really important for your keywords. And after the questions, we're going to be looking at these areas in more depth. The headline, which is where people normally put their job title, you know, managing director or manager or project manager or marketing or whatever it is in that headline. 120 characters. We want that to be keyword rich, but we want it to be really attractive for the customer. Your current job, work experience, your past jobs and work experience that are relevant. LinkedIn is not a CV. So this is, yes, about capturing stuff that may not be relevant anymore, but it doesn't have to be written as accurately or seamlessly as a CV. And then your about section, 2,000 characters, which come up at the top of your profile. The top few lines are immediately visible. You have to click on read more to see the rest. But this is really, really important for your keywords. And it's important that you are maximizing these areas and you have sufficient content in each of these sections, because this is rocket fuel for SEO. And LinkedIn will make a massive contribution to your SEO efforts. I know, for example, when I'm helping exporters do business overseas, that if I'm searching for them in a particular country, their LinkedIn profile will generally show up way before their website does, because it's such a beautifully optimized resource. Do not try and squeeze keywords in next to your name. That contravenes LinkedIn's terms and conditions. So professional accreditations, if you're an accountant or you've got an engineering degree and you feel it's important to have those letters up there, or you're in health and safety and you want to put IOSH or NEBOSH or whatever, fine, but not anything other than accreditations of that nature. So, I am going to stop screen sharing and hand over again to the lovely Helen. Take a gasp of water, and see what questions we've got now.
Yes, I know you've covered a lot there. So Karen's asking, this is just going back to some of the connection questions, Norma, from earlier on. What are your thoughts on sending a connection to someone? Sometimes LinkedIn doesn't seem to give you an option to put a message in there.
It will. And Karen, was it Karen, did you say the question came from? Yeah, Karen. Sometimes you've got to be careful, because LinkedIn is doing away with it a bit more now. But actually there's a more button, and when you click on the more button at the very top of your profile, it will give you some options. And there's a connect invitation in there, and you can always add a message in that way. The odd thing to understand about LinkedIn, everybody thinks that LinkedIn is standard technology across all users, and it isn't. They roll out software improvements incrementally. So sometimes my LinkedIn, the way it's set up, has different functionality and looks different to the way other people's does. So again, if in doubt, go to the help section, ask a question, and it will take you through those areas. But LinkedIn is removing that auto request bit by bit, and they are now encouraging people more and more to actually tailor it and personalize it, so that you're not getting that awful I'd like to invite you to join my professional network on LinkedIn, which is just horrible. So if in doubt, always look for the more button. You can try it out once, and if it does, then don't worry about it. But I always look at the more button, and particularly on the mobile, it does give you options now to personalize it and add a message, so you don't need to fret.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you, Norma. A question from Rosie. She says she has a part-time job and her music business. Should she have a personal page as well as a company page for her music business?
Yes, I would definitely recommend that. And we will be looking at LinkedIn pages in session webinar 3. Briefly, but I think it's important to take a look at that. You cannot set up LinkedIn pages unless you have a personal profile. Make sure that you keep your passwords, and perhaps even give other people admin access. If you're a business owner and you get the PA to set up your company pages, make sure she doesn't leave with the passwords and then you can't access it, which I've seen happen beforehand. But yes, do both. You will need to think and vary the content. What do I want to talk about as an individual in the business, and actually what is appropriate for the business to start to share with their followers, and make sure it's not the same content. But we'll delve into that in session 3 as well.
Well, that's great. And there's a few people just asking, is it possible to message someone without premium?
Absolutely, yes. But only if you're a first degree connection.
Aha.
Yeah.
And
And that's the same for premium members. You can only message someone if you are a first degree connection, and that message is 300 characters to invite them to connect. Once they have accepted, then you can message to your heart's content. Premium members can get in touch, contact people that they are not connected to, and you do that through LinkedIn's own email system that's called InMail, but that's what you're paying your premium price for. So as a business premium member, I get 45 InMail messages, and I do use them, but it's a slightly different approach because I might not necessarily be connected with someone. So that's one of the advantages of premium service.
Well, that's answered one of the questions from Diane, because she was asking what are the benefits for having premium and what's the monthly cost?
Well, the monthly costs from around £36 per month upwards. Sales Navigator is around the £76, but there are lots of different variations of that, and it goes up into the hundreds. I did have a client sort of, ooh, and that's expensive, etc. But do you know what? I have a client who paid for premium, managed to get a connection with the chief exec of Fisher Price, and 3 months later flew out to New York for a personal meeting with him. She would have probably paid thousands for that, let alone you know, a £36 subscription. So I think it's dependent upon the value you'll get from it. However, I would recommend everybody get to grips with basics. Start using some of these techniques. Most likely you will not need premium. When you feel you have the time and you want to test it out, take a couple of weeks where you can knock yourselves out on a free trial, because LinkedIn will bombard you with free trial offers. Use it for a few weeks, see if you like it, if you want to continue paying, if it's worth your while, and if not, go back to basic.
Fair enough.
Great. One more, Helen, and then we need to move on.
One more.
Yeah.
This is related to the keywords, Norma. We've got a question here saying, is the same bias given by the LinkedIn algorithm whether the keywords are included in the headline or the overview or the present or past experience? It's just to have them everywhere.
To be truthful, we don't know that. If I were to say, I think those 4 areas through tests and trials, because I'm in lots of developer groups on LinkedIn and such like in the US and here, we feel they are the most valuable. I can't really say hand on heart that we know whether one's more valuable than the other, but because it's at the very top, I would put my money on your headline and the top few sentences of the about section, because that is what appears in every search and in Google searches. So I would pay particular attention to that just to be on the safe side.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks, Norma.
Brilliant. All right. And here we go into some profile development work. So we've done that. It is jumping around a fair bit today. We've done the niche. And here we go actually into the profile. And now this section is all about how you get the very best from your profile. So pictures, guys. Head and shoulders shot, LinkedIn's terms and conditions, not you wrestling with crocodiles on holiday in Australia with the family. So a head and shoulders shot, please don't do things like this. And these are all LinkedIn profiles. I'm just wondering if I met him in a hotel, whether he'd turf up with a snorkel mask on, so I recognize him. You know, Alfred Marabian said that communication is 7% words. It is 55% about body language and 35% about the tone and approach that you use. So actually being able to see someone's face, and particularly eye contact online, if it's done right, engenders trust. So a good head and shoulders shot, you can still bring a bit of style into what you're doing. Don't use your company logo on LinkedIn. This is about you personally as an individual networking. Humor, great. Some people get it, some people don't. So I would be very cautious doing things like this. Make sure your image is top quality, not grainy or blurry, because the inference is you haven't got an eye on quality in the business. So just get professional headshots or someone to do a really good headshot for you, and don't do things like this. We know it's not good. I don't need to say anything about that one. These are examples of different LinkedIn profile pictures that people put up there. I will just let you make your own judgment. What you will need to decide is whether these are actually you putting your best foot forward. How can I best present myself? And you know, this is kind of business, not social. So the wedding thing, I get you're really proud. It's when you were most in love and a fabulous day and such like, but is it relevant to what you're doing as a business? Because you really want to start getting some of those values and that ethos across. So just a few examples of quite a lot of agencies will adopt these sort of, I'm not fond personally, sometimes they can be good. I prefer to see the person face to face, but that's a very personal thing. I think you need to make your own choices. What will help me put my best foot forward? And remember, 90% of prospects have made their mind up whether they're going to do business with you before they even connect with you. So first impressions really important. Spelling mistakes. This is actually the profile of a PA to a congressman in the United States. It's pretty poor, as you can see. So spelling mistakes and grammatical errors are one of the pet hates of people when they're looking at LinkedIn. 3 essentials you need to get right is have a great headline. That's your opening pitch. Make sure you've got your current and your past work experience completed and your about section. So we're going to dive straight in to what this looks like. Now, these are also in your workbooks, guys. You will be able to have a look at these. And I've got lots more examples if anybody would like them. These are on page 7. These are most of them clients that I've worked with to help them with their LinkedIn profile. Great background image, really easy to upload. And when you hover over the, when you're in your own profile, there'll be a little pencil appears, and when you hover on that, it actually tells you the pixel sizes of the image that you need to get up there. Vicky's included her preferred target clients as a demographic and the branding for the company. And in the headline that you can see here, she's kept in Director of Prismatic Wealth, but I love what she's written. Straight talking specialist financial advice for corporate and private clients. Keyword rich, but very heartfelt. Liz Drury, a voiceover artist. Again, great images, lovely headshot. Professional voice for e-learning, explainer videos, commercials, IVR, corporate videos, audio tours, and more. So again, very keyword rich and to the point. I've included Frances's. She's not done the maximizing the headline. However, I love the way they've presented the 4 different furniture product offers in the background image, and her personal profile image is just lovely, and a great strapline on there, British furniture built to last, because about well, a good proportion of what they sell is international. So again, some important points there for you to think about. Heather Townsend, the Go to Expert program that I've mentioned, she's actually included books that she has written, and she's put the different URLs for her website up there. And she is very clear, founder of the Accountants Millionaires Club, helps accountants, lawyers, and consultants make partner. That's her core focus. She's also a speaker and an author. Maybe some of you know Simon Bourne, the shoe guy. Simon came on a LinkedIn course with me, oh gosh, it'll be a good few years now, down in Durham. And he's kept his pretty simple, but he has a great LinkedIn profile, imagery brilliant, and the content really good. Founder of the hand-dyed shoe company, he's kept his very on the sort of the shoe guide topic, very simple but very effective, and the URL again in the top of the profile. Solar Glide here again, use black and white, which I think is quite nice. A good strong headline, and as you can see, the about section here, really personal and really heartfelt. So in your workbook on page 8, if you have it there, I'm going to delve into how you can go about creating a great headline in 120 characters. And the key thing is that you are really showcasing your personality. Remember your buddy interviews, that your buddies maybe jotted down some key phrases or words, or if you're able, record it and play it back, because your personal verbal description of you and what you do will be pretty powerful. And in those 120 characters, based on the examples you've seen, what would work for you? And I recommend that you write this in Word, because you can check the character count quite easily in Word. And you write it, make it longer when you first write it, and then you're going to have to hone it and whittle it down. And it does take a bit of time to get down to those 120 characters. And when you write, ask a few people what they think about it, get some feedback, talk to your buddy, and then you can drop it into your LinkedIn profile. So some suggestions there for you. I would like to offer all of you, as long as they are quick questions, if you have got questions or you want me to take a look at anything in between the webinar series, between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3, as long as it happens through LinkedIn, so that I know that you're using LinkedIn, then I'm very happy to share some thoughts and give you a little bit of feedback. But it needs to be fairly quick, guys, because otherwise it will end up being too much. So that was your headline. Your about section, bear in mind that the first couple of sentences at the top of your about section will appear on your LinkedIn profile. And it is important that we get this right. 2,000 characters, that includes spaces and punctuation, remember. So in the about section, it's important that you really get across who you are and what you do, but more importantly, what you do for the customer, who it is that you particularly want to work with and add the most value to, and what the benefits to the customer are of what you are doing and how you can help them. And you know, I've even encouraged people to put things in their profile like, my clients tell me that I'm somebody who really knows my stuff, and they've said, you know, and you can incorporate a short but not shouty, arrogant testimonial, sort of short testimonial, or highlight some of the benefits and some of the things that they have come back and shared with you that always sound better when it comes from someone else and you're not just saying it yourself. In the about section, because only your first degree connections can see your contact information at times, I also, in your about section, like you to include at the bottom how they can get in touch with you, your telephone number and your email address. Some people I've seen do sometimes include that in their headline, and sometimes even against their name, and that really does contravene LinkedIn's terms and conditions, so you need to be careful with that. The about section is quite long, 2,000 characters, and you will probably all know that you need to make content online easy to read and scan, because we have less patience. Now, LinkedIn doesn't have very good formatting. So if you want to use bullets or such like, you'll see on my LinkedIn profile, I've used diamonds because they look a bit different. You have to actually copy and paste them across. If you format it beautifully in a Word document and copy it across, LinkedIn will not take across the formatting. So it takes a wee bit of fiddling, but chunking it up into short sentences and paragraphs, using those bullets, if you can copy and paste them across, and making it easy to read is a really good tactic to adopt. It should be neat, concise, and to the point. and on your about section and your current and past work experience, you can easily upload other resources. So videos, presentations, brochures, checklists, how-to guides. There's all sorts of things that you can put up there that makes your profile more dynamic, more interesting, more varied, more useful. And of course, once you've got your profile done and written, I want you to be guiding as many people to your profile as absolutely possible, and I'll be coming on to that. So what resources? You need to do a wee bit of a content audit here. What other resources have you got that you can actually include in those different sections on your LinkedIn profile? So I have a particular formula, and this is in your workbook, and it will be on any slides if you want me to send them out. This formula for getting your LinkedIn About section correct. So first of all, bear in mind, you need to inject your personality into your profile. Your profile is your virtual business development manager self, and it's important that it captures the essence of you. Actually, I have to laugh. I was at a workshop, and when I presented this, a chap put his hand up and he said, "I've got a problem." So I said, "Okay, what's your problem?" He says, "I haven't got a personality, help," which of course was a good joke. So what's your personality? Get your personality injected into your profile. The first line, as with any presentation or opening gambit, or the second one at the very least, needs to be personal and impactful, and really invites, encourages the person looking at it to read on. What is the hook? So for example, I have a client who works in the natural health sector, and her first line is, "Imagine waking up in the morning completely pain-free." And she's got most of our attention. I've got a bad back at the moment. So she would have my attention if I were looking at that profile, and I'd certainly be reading on. Then what are the pain points? This is a really important thing when you are thinking about what we're doing, which is very gentle selling, because the whole purpose behind this is to sell, but in a very networking, gentle way. So what are the pain points, the problems of your clients that you can solve? So setting out, like Vicky does on her Prismatic Wealth one. Well, clients getting to a certain age are worried about this and pensions and da-da-da-da-da. And actually, we've got things that can help you to solve that. This is the solution. So really setting that out. And if you're able to do that in sort of story or semi-story format, that is particularly powerful. Who do you serve? Who are the customers? Mention it. Quote, "We work with such and such. We are really good at dealing with such and such," whether that's B2B or B2C. And what makes you different? Your unique selling points. What sets you apart from your competitors? What makes you unique? It may not necessarily be what you do. It might be how you go about doing that. And it's important that you set that out. So credibility and relationship hooks are also pretty important. We talk about, what are your badges and battle scars? You've been working in this field for 25 years and I've got the scars to prove it. So name clients you've worked with, big accounts that you've managed, huge achievements that you've made, or just things you're proud of that clients have given you great feedback on. And it's really good to have a process when you are doing work with clients that you are asking them and capturing that and getting those testimonials and case studies. And of course, what evidence have you got? On my LinkedIn profile, I've got things in there like I've worked with 3,000, 4,000 different customers, and I've done X amounts of clients on workshop and training sessions, So I'm actually quoting numbers in there, because that then makes it relevant and makes it more real for people looking at your profile. You will need a paragraph, and I usually suggest that second or third paragraph in your about section, where you've got a standard, what I call a boilerplate paragraph about the business. So including the important keywords about the business and just setting out concisely that top level elevator pitch for what it is the business is about, all the various different businesses. And I think, Michael, was it you who was asking the question about, you know, you may at different times change the priority of those paragraphs in your profile to give more prominence to something that might be top of the list at one point in the time, and then 3 months down the line, you switch the order around. And then personal sound bites. I don't need to know what colour socks you're wearing today, but what would you be comfortable sharing? Is it sport? Is it your personal passion? Are you involved in charities? Is it your values or your experiences? You know, what things are you comfortable sharing that just make you more of a real person that people would love to network with, an interesting individual? And then at the very end, and this should be at the very end of any content that you are creating, your contact information and a call to action. Okay, I've come to your profile, great picture, great background image, I've read the content, all looks fantastic. So what now? And actually I offer, let's have a virtual coffee. I don't want, and can't at the minute anyway, go out and meet people face to face. So I offer a short 10-15 minute virtual coffee. I usually say, you bring the coffee, I'll bring the chocolate biscuits. And we just have 10-15 minutes online using Zoom or Skype or WhatsApp or whatever you want to use. And a quick chat, you know, is there more on this? Do we want to continue the conversation or not? And you can be confident that your profile is making a great first impression, so the chances of people coming back and say yes will be even greater. And of course, including in all of that your keywords, and some people do at the bottom of their profile about section like to include the specialist keywords. Personally, I don't, but if you want to do that, then that is also accepted practice. So, and we will have time for questions. I want to finish fairly soon, so we've got lots of times for Q&A. So this is a checklist for you. I don't normally advocate doing massive bullet point lists on PowerPoint presentations, but this is a checklist for you and captures most of the things that we've talked about today, but also captures some of the things we're going to go into more depth in webinars 2 and 3. So making sure that you've got the profile as 100% complete as you possibly can, that you've got the right name on the profile. So if you're called Richard, but everybody calls you Richie, then make a decision as to whether you're going to consistently use Richard or Richie, because that will affect the search results that you get. Make sure you've got a great keyword-rich headline and about section. When you set up your LinkedIn profile, you will need to include an industry and postcode. And we're going to focus on the client benefits, inject our personality, and make sure all the content's easy to scan, particularly in the about section. You will have a wonderful professional quality photograph that captures some of your personality, and you will personalize your URL on LinkedIn. When LinkedIn sets up your profile in the first instance, it gives you a URL like other social media resources, and it's got lots of gobbledygook after the name you choose. You can go to the help section, personalize a URL. LinkedIn will give you a step-by-step guide as to how to personalize that. It's really quick and easy. So take out the gobbledygook, leave your name. You might need to add something to it if your particular name has already gone, like the company name or what you do or a keyword, but please personalize that URL, and I'll show you why directly. Add your contact details. On everybody's profile, just under the photograph, there is a section that says contact details, and I would like you to fill those out fully with the address of the business, your websites, your social media resources, the email address and make sure it's your business email address, not your personal email address, and ensure that you've got all the right telephone numbers. I recommend you put +44 for the UK, just in case, especially these days, people from abroad are wanting to get in touch with you. So make sure you include the international dialing code. Just a tip here from me, and it's a teeny little SEO thing, but it does work. In that contact information section, when you are adding your company or even your personal websites, I tend to choose not the description, company website or personal website. I choose other, and then a drop down box appears and it allows you to put the actual name of it in there, which just gives you it looks slightly nicer, but it gives you a teeny tiny SEO benefit because it's somewhere else for those company names or keywords to be included. So second column here, top right, add a call to action to the about section. Let's get in touch. And if you want to be an all-star, LinkedIn wants you to have at least 3 different jobs listed on your profile that are keyword rich. So if you've been in the same company, I sometimes encourage people to just do 3 different entries for 3 different positions they might have had in that company. And if you're a student and you're starting out, well, you've just got to wait until you get that experience. You need to be adding skills, have at least 50 connections to get all-star status, and just complete as many areas as possible. And then we'll be going into the other areas as we go through the rest of the webinar series, in particular recommendations and such like, and I'll be sharing with you best practice around doing that. Test everything and make sure everything's proofread. Now, when you've got that wonderful profile sorted on your website, as these lovely people at Zero Carbon Futures have done on your team pages, you can see Colin, the MD, has included a lovely LinkedIn badge there so that people can connect with him on LinkedIn from the page. And here's Solar Glide again on their lovely new About Us page, have included the LinkedIn contact information there so people can click straight through to the LinkedIn section. So here is the home page. You can see down here in the middle on the left there where my cursor is, the contact information. You hit on the pencil here on the right to make any alterations. You'll see the more button that I mentioned earlier. I think it was to Karen, but I'm not quite sure. And there are just a few things here before we close for questions that I would like to share with you. When you click on this section here, if you click on more, it comes up with share profile and save to PDF. And this is just a small tip. When you've got your profile all singing and all dancing, you can actually save it to a PDF and save your colleagues or associates profiles to a PDF and attach those perhaps to a tender or a proposal. Or you can share the profile with someone who may be interested, or you're sending them the PDF because they're not on LinkedIn, for example. So that's a good tip for you to use and makes getting your LinkedIn profile up to speed all the more valuable. In terms of adding a profile section, when you click on there, you'll see it brings up the different areas. And you'll see a new section on here called Featured, which we'll be looking at in the 3rd webinar series, which is about you featuring posts or articles that have been particularly vibrant and successful for you, and they're featured as top posts on your profile. So we'll be delving into all of that during that webinar session 3. And then for those of you that are working internationally, you have the possibility to translate your LinkedIn profile into 24 different languages. So here you'll see I've translated mine into German. You click on the globe and it then gives you 24 different languages to choose from. You click on that and LinkedIn brings up then a copy of your existing profile and an empty version, section by section, that allows you to take your LinkedIn profile, get it translated by a proper translator. Don't use Google Translate because it's not 100% quality. Get it translated, and you can just drop those translated sections into your profile, and that will give you a huge boost in international search engines. When I did it for Germany, my profile views in Germany went up about 460% in 3 months. So it has been amazing, and business just started coming and connections started approaching me rather than vice versa. So I think we've not got a huge amount of time left, so I'm just going to say a little bit about planning and then we'll take questions. So planning your 12 minutes a day, put the effort in to prepare a great profile. I'm on hand the next couple of weeks, as are the lovely team from the organizations you're engaging with, and we're there to help. Once you've done that prep and you've got a great profile up there, implementation, measurement, and the results you get will be so much easier and so much stronger. The 12-minute challenge a day or 1 hour a week, and I would suggest 12 minutes a day. Do a different task each day. Make sure you do 1 day of the week where you're developing a little bit of new content. Webinar 3 will help you with that. And just pick times to respond to comments and feedback and do your connections. I tend to do first thing in the morning, lunchtime, or 5 o'clock, which tend to be pretty popular times. Be yourself and inject your personality in there. Now, the Smart LinkedIn schedule, and some of these we haven't done yet. They're coming in further webinars, but I'm going to keep reiterating this schedule. Check and respond to notifications. Add connections if you can, and pending what results you want to get out of LinkedIn, up to 10, either a day or a week if that's too much for you. Create a post, do birthdays, likes and shares, run a Boolean or advanced search, and check out who's viewed my profile. And we'll be looking at that in the next webinar session. Weekly, check your saved search results, your SSI score, respond to acceptances and get into a dialogue. And what we're covering in the next sessions is how to get recommendations and how to give them, which will also really boost the performance of your LinkedIn profile. And then monthly, writing an article in a free resource, and I will be talking about how to back up your connections and your information on LinkedIn so that you can use that more richly as well. So thank you so much. I'm stopping sharing now. Over to the lovely Helen.
Hello, Norma. Norma, the questions are flying in for you.
Oh, wow.
I know, goodness me. Right, so we've got from Karen, when do you think are the best times or days to post on LinkedIn?
Karen, that will become very apparent during your customer profiling because it does vary from business sector to business sector. But typically B2B, LinkedIn, I think first thing of a morning so that people get it when they're coming into work. They tend to do a dive into LinkedIn at lunchtime and then around the 5 o'clock. If you're targeting senior managers, Sunday evening is great. Late Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening is also great because they tend to be just dipping in to get the head in gear for Monday morning. But it does vary very much pending who your target customers are. So we'll be thinking about that in the next webinar.
And Norma, someone just missed the section about adding the bullet points in it, or creating a diamond as a bullet point.
Yeah.
They kind of missed that bit. How do you go about doing that?
If you want diamonds, go to my profile, which is exactly what I did with somebody else's because I thought they looked good. I like them. You might not, but I do. And you just copy and paste them across onto the Word document and then copy and paste them into LinkedIn. If you create a diamond from the formatting in Word, it will not translate across into LinkedIn. It doesn't copy formatting. It only copies images and graphics.
Fantastic, thank you, Norma. I've just got some comments that the LinkedIn looks slightly different on an iPhone, and to obviously the slides, and it's going to vary, isn't it? Depending.
It does, and actually, you know, even on the same sort of device, they roll out upgrades of the software that they use on LinkedIn to different people. I'm guessing, I don't really know. I'm guessing the people that are more proactive, and it tends to be the case, get the update sooner than others do, but it also varies region by region as well. So I get this all the time, and people find it really confusing because we'll have two laptops side by side and it looks different. So it's just something you get used to.
Fantastic, thanks, Norma. I've got Chris that says he's an MD of 3 companies.
Yes.
What's the best way to describe that in his profile? Because he's scared of coming across as jack of all trades.
It's an interesting one because the headline's really short, and you know, you need to choose the words that your customers would use to describe you, or people that know you. So I would suggest doing the interview and asking people, you know, if you were to tell somebody about me, how would you describe me? And listen to what they say, because that really does help. But I'd be talking about, you know, I'm not saying necessarily use these words, but about being a serial entrepreneur, or somebody who's really invested in business, or really proactive and does a range of different things. And then just setting that out in a very, I quite like doing things in a quite understated way, but keep it simple and keep it to the point, because they can go down to the work experience area to look at the detail. And I think, myself included, but some of us just want to give clients too much information at that top level. So I would say keep it really simple, set it out in a very chatty way. But actually, you're somebody who's got multiple business interests, and doing that really successfully, and just set that out, and then talk about each one individually in the right order that suits your priorities at that point in time.
That makes sense, Norma. Karen's asking, or she's heard that if you edit your headline and profile on particular mobiles, you get extra characters.
Oh, yes, good one. Yeah. The iPhone, for you guys, at the moment, and LinkedIn haven't closed down that loop as yet. If you write your headline on an iPhone, you get many more characters than the 120, which can be fab. Just make sure that in the search which you saw on the home screen, you know, the box with your picture and the headline that appears in most searches, make sure it doesn't go over that limit, and just check it out. But yes, if you do it on the iPhone, you will get many more characters. I suspect at some point in time they might close that down, but they haven't as yet. If you want to edit it, you will need to go back to an iPhone to edit it as well. You can't then edit it on the PC.
No, okay, great top tips there. We've got Noriko asking, she's set up a LinkedIn page. She's a self-employed artist and author. So a personal page and business page send the same message. Should she focus on posting on a personal page, or, you know, because I know some people are scared that the business page doesn't get much of a following. Is it better to focus on your personal page, or what's best?
I would say at this point in time, yes, but don't neglect the content and your following on the business page. However, the key question on your LinkedIn pages, the company pages, is, you know, why am I asking people to come to my LinkedIn pages? Because it's not a replacement website. LinkedIn actually had company pages previously that functioned just like websites, and they culled them. There was an uproar, and they then introduced company pages and showcase pages. So the question is, if I'm inviting people to this business page, what is the core topics that we're going to be talking about? So IBM, for example, has their company page all about the business, and they're sharing content relevant generally to IBM, but then they've got sub-pages about big data. They've got sub-pages about security. You could have, you know, a sub-page around a particular innovative product that you're going to be launching, or you're off on a mission to do charitable work or whatever. So, you know, these pages are about areas of special interest and focus where you can bring like-minded people in to network and talk and share and do different things. So you could think about that in terms of your world and what does that mean to you as an artist. And if you're inviting people into those company pages, what are you going to talk about? And, you know, one of the things that I found working with artists previously is actually people love to see you in the process of creation and just sharing techniques and how you do it and your experiences and such like. That might be a great place to start. And actually talk to your customers. Again, this comes out in the customer profiling. What would they love to see? What would be interesting? And go and graze on LinkedIn and on the web and see what other people are offering by way of creative content that works well. On the back of the workbook, actually, I have put LinkedIn's top company pages for 2019, so you can actually go on there and have a bit of a rummage and see what other people are doing with company pages as well. But you need to maintain both, and I think first priority is sort out the profile and get that working, and then we can have a look at the company pages.
Great. And I've got an interesting one from Rachel. She says, should I be avoiding competitors on LinkedIn at all costs, or actually embracing them?
No, love them, invite them in and share with them. I mean, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I usually get this asked by so many clients, and but I don't want my competitors. How can I get rid of my competitors off my profile? And I think there's an aspect of not making it easy for them to you know, work through your stuff and try and pillage this and pillage that and get connections and all of this stuff that could go on. Behavior on LinkedIn is no different to behavior in real life. But and actually in your settings you can prevent anybody other than first degree connections from seeing your connections, etc. So there are things you can do in your settings to help with that if there is a real need in your business. I mean, you know, manufacturers don't want people necessarily to find out who their distributors are because it's taken them years to find them and develop relationships with them. So that needs to be thought through. But I just like to work open source. Do you know what? This is networking. I'm good at what I do. So are you guys. Just get out there and shake it up and do your thing and be one step ahead of the competitors.
I like that, Norma. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Just going back, I've got a few people asking on one of the slides, you mentioned a virtual BDM. Does that stand for Business
Development Manager? Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it does. It does.
And then we've got some people just saying, how do they actually improve the following on the business page?
Do you know what? And this is the short answer in deference to time, through engaging them with really great content that grabs their attention, that they would love to start sharing and commenting on. And sorry to come back, but it's the first example that comes to mind because it was part of LinkedIn's own presentation of what content works well. It was people looking at retirement, coming back to the prismatic wealth thing, but no connection to them. And just saying, oh, you know, I'm starting to dream about what my retirement might look like. And they did a sort of 1-month campaign. These are the ideas I've come up with. This is what I want to do on my retirement. How about you guys? And they started engaging with their customers and tell us your stories and what are you dreaming of and where would you like to go and have any of you put this into practice? And wow, the engagement was just phenomenal.
Fantastic. Thank you, Norma. We've got a lot of questions in and I'm just conscious it's 12 o'clock.
12 o'clock. Yeah.
What do you want to do, Norma? Do you want to go through?
Well, I don't know, Helen, shall we share those? And I don't know what way you have of perhaps sending out some, I'm happy to pull some responses together in writing and just send them out to everybody who's on here and beyond. We can post them up and just share answers to you all, because you know, I'd love to answer all of your questions, but we've probably got busy lives, and as lovely as it would be to spend another hour or two with you, it means we can crack on with the rest of our day. How does that sound?
That sounds perfect, Norma. Thank you. And we'll make sure that those answers get to everyone as well. And of course, people can just feed those into the programs as well after, or myself, etc. as well. So let us know. But thank you so much, Norma. That's just great.
Do you know, I've loved it. So sorry about the techie problems at the beginning. But I think we found at least a workable solution. Hopefully the sound's been fine for you. It's been fun. I've really enjoyed it, actually. It's been great fun, and you've been a lovely, you know, vibrant audience asking lots of questions. I hope you get lots of value out of it. Remember to do your action planning and look at what you're going to prioritize for this week. We'll have maybe just a quick touch base as to where you're at when we start next week's webinar. If you've got questions in between, just drop me a message on LinkedIn. I'm not going to answer emails, but I will answer you if you come through to me on LinkedIn. If it's short, please keep it short, because there's quite a lot of you. But have a great week, great fun on LinkedIn, get some good results going, and hopefully see you next week.
Thanks very much, Norma. Take care.
Take care. Bye.